from Kern Government Television. Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, October 25th, 2022, 2 p.m. meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We'll first hear from County Counsel Margo Raison for a report on actions taken in closed session.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. As you know, this morning you met in closed session on item number 54, and there is no reportable action.
Thank you. Next, we will consider the consent agenda, and agendas are located on the tables near the doors for anyone wishing to follow along. All items listed with a CA above the item are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda, and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. So I'll read the consent agenda items now. Starting on page 2, we have items 3 through 7 on consent. On page 3, all items 8 through 11 are listed on consent. However, item number 8 is pulled off of consent per the planning department. So we will hear that item number 8 in listed sequence. On page 4, all items 12 through 14 are on consent. Page 5, all items 15 through 19 are on consent. Page 6, all items 20 through 26 are on consent. Page 7, all items 27 through 34 are on consent. On page 8, all items 35 through 43 are on consent. And finally, on page 9, item 44 is on consent. So at this time, I'll ask if there's any members of the audience that would like to ask a question or make any comments on the consent agenda. Okay, seeing none, I'll return to the board for questions, comments, or a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. And that brings us back to page 2 on our agenda. Item number 1 is public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. And so at this time, I'll ask if there's anyone present that would like to make a public presentation. You are limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Ralph Robles. I am a veteran, and I'm holding here an article that I've kind of botched up, but I will try to relate it in a coherent form. Headline on it is Government Admits to, Dominion Voting Machines Vulnerable to Hacking in 16 States. Dominion machines have the potential to be breached according to an advisory from the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. These are, of course, the machines that caused controversy in the 2020 election. The Dominion machines have shown to have 9 vulnerabilities to present risks that should be mitigated as soon as possible. Now I depart from what the rest of the article says because they claim that they have no evidence of these vulnerabilities and that these vulnerabilities have been exploited in any elections. My contention is that they have been, but the government has ignored them, and that the justice system has actually gone out of its way to prevent the evidence from being presented in a court of law. It's supposed to, it also says that the 2020 election was the most secure in history, American history. I disagree. Hacking the machines would require both physical access to the devices and the electrical management system, or the ability to alter files before being uploaded to the machines, CISA said. Here's where, again, I differ. As an electronics technician, I have found that anyone with Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi device can access these items remotely by just being present in the proximity of them. You can think of these vulnerabilities as doors. If you have the key, you can enter the doors. One of the keys is passwords. A Wi-Fi access, all it needs is the system's passwords, and they can go in there, they can read the files, and they can actually edit them and feed them back in.
Mr. Robles, you've exceeded your time. We appreciate your comments. If you could please bring them to a close.
Thank you. My contention again is that you need to take a tighter control of your Dominion machines, if not get rid of them entirely, or make your systems for securing those machines more airtight. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers, please? Okay, I'm not seeing any other requests, so we will move on to board member announcements and reports. Anything from the board? Okay, seeing none then, we will move on to item number 8. As I announced, this one was pulled off of consent. This is an item under Planning and Natural Resources Department. Status update on implementation of SB2 planning grant funding for searchable GIS-based vacant residential land inventory database and residential online fee calculator. So I will turn to our director, Lorelei Oviatt, to start us off on this topic. Ms. Oviatt, good afternoon.
Thank you, Chairman Scrivener, members of the board. I'm here today with our housing team, Craig Murphy, Assistant Director, Cindy Hoover, Division Chief, and Julie Williams, Supervising Planner of Graphics. So the department received an allocation under the SB2 planning grants, which provides support for local governments to address the state's housing shortage and high housing costs. This funding source was created in 2017, which is the $75 fee on the recording of certain types of real estate documents, excluding sales of residential and commercial property. Our allocation under the planning grants portion of the bill was $625,000. The first part of the grant we used for cost in the rezoning and streamlining of multifamily zoning that your board has already taken action on. But today we're providing you with a demonstration of the next practical tools we've developed to support residential development in collaboration and with amazing creativity from a number of other county departments. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Ms. Oviatt. Members of the board, before we go forward with showing you what was created and the particular program, what I'd like to do is acknowledge all the staff that worked on this particular project. This is one of those things where you may know what needs to be done, but until you actually start trying to implement it, you don't really know quite how it's supposed to be done. And so while the planning department was the lead for implementation of the grant, we clearly would not have been able to bring this program before you today and make it available without the help of the other county departments and a lot of staff. A lot of those staff did a lot of problem solving to make sure data can talk to data and programs were consistent and worked with other programs. In total, we had 22 county staff members that really worked in great detail on this. We also had the superintendent of schools that helped participate because they have various fees and programs that we wanted to incorporate. And not only did it require normal business hours, but a lot of these employees worked on the weekends to make sure that the program could work, and because that was really when it could be tested and when the servers were not being used as much. So there was just a lot of effort that was done, and I wanted to make sure that we acknowledged the various county staff and departments that actively participated in this. So moving on into what was actually done. So while when you see this, it may look very similar to our online GIS system, which I know your board is familiar with, what we've created is a vacant residential locator or land inventory program. And then we've also created a fee calculator for those vacant parcels where if you are interested in trying to find out an estimate in terms of what a building permit would cost for a multifamily or for a single-family house, you can actually get some of that information without having to go to the building department or the planning department, because you can do it online. So the parcel database that was created, the basic layer that was used was our assessor's GIS foundation. You know, that parcel layer was really the foundation. And then we refined those layers, and we retained only the residential vacant unincorporated parcels. And then we also used, and this is where a lot of the staff came through, to verify, were they vacant? They looked at a whole bunch of aerial imagery, and then they also had to look at various assessors' data to see if in fact these parcels were vacant. In total, our database for these vacant residential parcels is approximately 40,000 various parcels throughout unincorporated Kern County. So the web map that was created specifically is designed to provide the public with an interactive and comprehensive method to explore this vacant land inventory. The features include the ability to search for these parcels under multiple tools, which include census data, zoning, things along those lines. We update the data layers, have been done in a manner that are designed to address what housing needs, which you'll see in a report that's generated. We talked to the Housing Authority and we asked, what are some of the things that you look for when it comes to finding parcels that might be appropriate for future development? They talk about, well, are there grocery stores nearby? Are there health centers nearby? Things along those lines. We've actually created a system and a report that will help provide some of that basic information just by a click of a button. So you will have the option, or the users will have the option to also print out various reports and then also generate permit fee estimates. So in your staff report, and again, you'll have much more detail in our presentation, you've been given an example report that can be printed. So the first page of this report will include an aerial of the parcel that you've identified. It will include various land use data, including the general plan, the zone classification for that parcel. It'll include the potential size of that parcel. And then when you go on to pages 2 and 3 of the report, this is where the report can actually identify what amenities and public infrastructures are located within 1/2 mile of that particular vacant parcel. And then the next page actually goes out what amenities are located within a 3-mile radius of that particular parcel that you've identified. The 4th page of the report will include a contact page. So again, these are not necessarily specific to any one individual, but if you need to know because it's identified that you're within a various CSD or some other group that the developer may need to contact, we'll actually have a page that helps to identify who that is and what the number to get them started down that direction. And then finally, once a report has been generated, again, if the user so chooses to have an estimate in terms of some sort of structure to build on site from a residential perspective, they have the ability to get this breakdown where this will list the various permit fees that would be applied to this particular project, and that way they'll have some understanding. And as you'll show, or we'll show you through the presentation, this is interactive. How big is the house? What type of facility or what type of units are you putting in there from an infrastructure perspective, because those affect the various fees. So it's very user-friendly as much as we could get it to be. So what I'd like to do now is have Ms. Williams kind of walk you through where this site's going to be located, kind of how it works, and kind of show what will be available to the public when this gets released for their ultimate review. So if I could have the clerk move over to the computer, we will kind of begin the rest of our presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Good afternoon, Chairman Scrivener and members of the board. As Mr. Murphy has mentioned, my team and I, with the assistance of our ITS and Public Works departments, have spent the last 2 years developing the tools for this vacant residential parcel project. I would like to start with introducing the new webpage that is created for this project. As you can see, you would go to our kernplanning.com website for the department, and we will have a link to the vacant residential parcels webpage. This will be the central hub or the gateway to the vacant residential parcels project and will be found on our website. On the date of our public release, you will find the link to the new webpage on our menu in between the community development and hearings menus. The direct website address will be www.kernplanning.com/vacant residential parcels. On the left-hand side of this page, you will find links to the web map and to a story map tutorial. In the center, you will find links to the fee estimator along with its FAQ tab. And on the right-hand panel, you can contact our department for any questions or assistance. There are buttons to contact our zoning department for zoning questions, a button to contact and send an email to the GIS unit directly for any problems regarding the web map or the fee estimator's functionality. And then there will be a third button for the building inspection department, should you have any questions regarding building permits or the fees. The last feature on this page is a link to our resource page with additional information. This additional information will have further links to various planning documents, as well as some quick links to the individual residential chapters of our zoning ordinance. So from our webpage, we will start with the web map. The web map is the core tool for this project. I'm sure many of you have seen or browsed our Kern County web map. It is similarly structured, showcasing the vacant parcel inventory and supporting all the supporting data layers. Initially, you will see the disclaimer. If you agree, go ahead and click through. And from here, you can see the full web map. On the left-hand side are all of the data layers that have been pulled together to support this project. The vacant residential parcels layer is listed at the top. Within each folder, you can open and turn layers on and off. You can also use sliders to adjust the transparency. We have also available across the top the 4 search tools. The first one is a direct search to the APN if you already know the parcel that you're looking at. The second one is the acreage and zoning search tool to combine the two to further refine the search results that are returned. The third one is acreage and zip code, and the fourth one is the acreage and census tracts. Also available through this web map, we have a frequently asked questions button that will give you additional information regarding the project, some of the things you may need to know in navigating the web map. Also, are links across, or tabs across the top to various features that just kind of enhance your mapping experience. So we have a tab to print a map directly if you are working on this web map. You are able to mark it up, add text. If you want to draw shapes on it, you are able to do that here. And then you lastly can also upload your own data should you have that, such as a shapefile, into this web map to use. So I would like to go through the search tools. Our first one here is search by APN directly. Wow. So I'm going to enter in the APN without the dashes. Hit search. And it will zoom in to the parcel that you have entered in. On the left-hand panel are additional details regarding that parcel. If you decide that something is blocking your view of the actual parcel, you can turn layers on and off and adjust the transparency. Down here at the bottom is where we have a tab to go back to the parcel details. On this parcel detailed panel, we have 2 links. The first one is probably the most important one and used will be the parcel report. And once you click on that, you can download a PDF of that parcel with a small aerial and basic information, as well as the amenities that Mr. Murphy spoke about earlier. The second link is a direct link to the particular zoning chapter that relates to this parcel. So as you can see here, this parcel is zoned E2.5, estate 2.5, residential suburban combining, mobile home combining. The link will take you to a PDF of just that particular zoning chapter, and on that has the residential uses that are allowed on that, in that zoning designation, and any other additional information regarding that chapter. One of the other search tools that we have available is searching by acreage and zip code. With these multiple criteria searches, you are able to enter in different options. So right here we have the size of the parcel that you are looking for. So let's say right here we have, you would enter a number 1 if you know for sure that you are looking for 1 acre or less. You can hit 2 for 1 acre, between 1 acre and 5 acres, 3 for 5 and 10, and 4 for greater than 10. So I am going to, let's try between 5 and 10 acres. And the zip code will be in Rosamond. And on the panel on the left-hand side, you can see that it gives you the number of results returned. So for between 5 and 10 acres, and that were within that zip code in Rosamond, there were 816 vacant residential parcels found. Depending on the number of results returned, it may take a little while for them to populate, but you will see the results here on the left-hand side. You can scroll through the parcels if you are just browsing. You can, let's see here. We also have the ability to, well, let's see here. There's a parcel available. You also have the option to download this entire results list. So say you want to just download the list and come back and research. You can do that from this menu up here. You can export to an Excel file, or you can export to a CSV. You can even export the shapefile of that in that particular parcel. Okay, one of the last, or we have a notify us button available here that you can send us a direct email if you have any questions, if you see an issue with a parcel, or if you just want to leave us a comment. And then that takes us to the fee estimator. So say you have found your parcel and you want to look at what it would cost to develop that parcel and look at different scenarios. What you will need to know is that you need to pass the APN number from the web map yourself. So you will need to note down that APN number and take it with you to the fee estimator. There's another disclaimer with some contact information up front. And then we are able to enter in our criteria into the fee estimator. There is another FAQ or help menu right here for additional information on the various criteria that are needed for the fee estimator. You would start by selecting your permit type. We have narrowed them down to just the ones that are relevant to new residential uses. So let's go with a single-family dwelling. We are going to go with 1 unit, since single family is 1 unit. Enter in that APN that you
found in the web map. And then enter in the building square footage. Now, if you do not know some of these values up front, you can just enter in 0. And then keep in mind that the fee estimate will leave that out. We have the construction type and the estimated solar system size. If you're within the metropolitan Bakersfield area and are subject to the Habitat Conservation Plan, you would enter in any acreage of disturbance and then hit enter. And your fees are shown on the right-hand side. And from there, if you wish to take this with you, you can hit print and receive that printout. From here, you can vary your values to see what it would cost. This particular one is being shown as $18,450.70. So if we change our criteria from 3,280 square feet to 2,100, the calculator will adjust the other square footages to not be more than the building square footage. And then you can hit enter and rerun the total estimate. And for that, it was $13,953. And that is the end of my presentation.
And if the clerk could put the overhead back on real quick. So the last part we want to just conclude with this is we have this tool. Where do we go next, and what is the release timeline? So again, we started with this residential vacant inventory. One of the things that we're still trying to do and making sure that our data can talk to each other is right now when you try to get your building permit calculation, you have to use a vacant residential parcel that we've identified. We're going to be working on trying to make sure that you don't have to use a vacant. What happens if I have an existing where I have a house built on it and I want to build a different house on it or a separate unit or things along those lines? We are going to be working to try to make sure that we have that ability as well. Potential future expansions. We could also have different types of accessory units that can be calculated. Right now, ADUs is not something that we can calculate. We're going to hope to try to maybe do some of that. Additional residential building types or modifications is something else that we think could be beneficial that we might be able to move on to. And then depending on how this residential inventory goes, there's always the possibility that maybe something similar could be developed for commercial type of developments as well. So what is our release timeline for this particular tool that we have? Well, tomorrow we are going to have a soft release of this interface to interested agencies and interested parties to kind of help go through our final testing and give them an opportunity to give us any feedback in terms of, wow, it'd be nice if this was on there as well, or what about this potential option, things along those lines. We're going to have an interested agencies workshop on October 28th to kind of walk them through the interface as well. On November 4th is when we're hoping to get any of their final comments so that we can make any final tweaks that we need to the program before it gets released to the public. We are planning on having 2 public workshops for those interested in kind of learning how this interface works and how to utilize the program. And then we are targeting a December 5th, 2022 public release, where that is the time frame in which the information would be available on our website and when people will be able to locate and begin using the program. And I know Ms. Williams touched on it real quick, but when we do go to our web program, we have some other staff that have put together a very detailed storyboard that helps outline the instructions in terms of what you would use, where's the button located, things along those lines. So our hope is that in addition to the public workshops and that storyline, that we will have a very easy interface for the public to be able to utilize this tool. So with that, that completes our presentation. The recommendation is just to receive and file this report, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions that your board has regarding this program.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Peters.
Just wanted to say thank you guys for this presentation. This looks like it's going to be a fantastic program. I'm pretty excited to share this with people. One question I had was, we have issues in all of our districts with blight, with buildings that have been vacant or abandoned, and causing issues in the community with attracting homelessness, that type of situation. Is there any way that at some point in the future those might be included so people can search those properties that are, I mean, they're technically vacant properties, but they might have some dwelling or building on there currently?
I think what this process has really shown us is a way to get to where you want to go. So I think that we have an Acela program that planning uses, but BID actually uses more extensively. And so what this actually created was us understanding its limitations and how we can go beyond that. Obviously it would take funding. We may not be the lead on that. Maybe that would be a BID. But yes, I think we've actually identified a way to use the data more effectively. Certainly, one of the issues is as those houses get, removed. For example, in Mojave, we managed to remove quite a few blighted houses off of vacant lots. They're now on an actual road that already has sewer, water, and a road. The point of this calculator is builders didn't know how to find those easily. As I've heard from the CAO, this is a really large county, and there's a lot of stuff going on in it. So at the end of the day, it's really hard for people who want to develop here to understand how to find product. So I think there's an opportunity in the future that someone could put something together like that, but it's also an opportunity that as we remove blighted properties, as we have properties become available in our vacant lot, we can actually redevelop those neighborhoods.
Great. Well, thank you, and great job by all you guys that worked on this.
Thank you, Supervisor Peters. Supervisor Perez.
I wanted to ask earlier if the estimations were as trustworthy as Zillow. Tongue in cheek, but
No, they're actually better because they're actually linked to the actual fees that we charge. I would also note that we have some of the lowest fees in California.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. This is totally incredible. Feels like the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, the requested action is to receive and file. We need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. That brings us to the conclusion of our agenda. Having no additional items to consider, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to Tuesday, November 8th at 9 a.m.
So moved.
We are adjourned.